Hi, guys. I'm Theresa with ASI. I'm so excited to be here with Cassie to talk about the real state of sustainable merch. I feel like you kind of teed it up nicely with the Stanley Stella video because it sort of touches on a lot of the things we actually talk about all the time and want to talk about now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this whole summit, the whole premise has been about actually doing these sustainable things that we've all been talking about, right? It's about real progress and doing something about it.
Yeah, so I know one of the things we wanted to talk about was some of the legislation that is coming that's related to sustainability. Can you kind of start us out with like what is happening right now?
Yeah. So, kind of like any trend we always see in the apparel industry, things really get started in the EU and the European market, right? Like, that's where we see a lot of this starting. So, there's been a lot of legislative progress there for a while. But now, in the last couple of years, we're starting to see that carry over into the US. So, I don't know if it, for those who have been paying attention, California, I think this was maybe a year and a half ago, ish, they passed SB 707, which is their Responsible Textile Recovery Act. Obviously, a lot of working pieces that still need to be put in place to support something like that. But, we are going to see more of this stuff coming. I mean, we see it in all sorts of states, starting with different textile related things. New York's got the Fashion Act. You could even go way back few years and even bring in the UFLPA legislation, which is all about, forced labor and, fair pay and things like that. This all ties into this ecosystem. And if you aren't paying attention, you better, because this legislation is here to stay and is probably going to carry a lot more into other states and does impact our industry. So I think it's an
Right.
important point to make.
One of those things people always say is if it happens in California, it's going to kind of trickle down to the rest of the US. So you do have
Right.
to pay attention to what's happening there. Um,
Yeah.
Also, the speaking of Europe, I know that there's a digital product passports that are coming as well, which I think is going to have a huge impact on textiles and apparel. And we're already kind of seeing some companies doing stuff with that, like Aware that has the traceability with the blockchain enabled traceability for sustainable supply chains. And I think I just saw that Blue Sign um, released something or was releasing something called like a Blue Pass, where it's another QR code enabled mechanism so you can track the chemicals and like what's going on with the sustainability of particular textiles and apparel. So that's, I think, something that's definitely becoming more prevalent. People want that product level transparency and traceability for what's going on with their particular promo items, t-shirts, what have you.
Yeah, and I know you're going to touch more on that later in this summit, but that really plays into, not only like the traceability, but sort of the circularity of everything that we're trying to push forward as well. So you see companies like Everywhere Apparel, Marine Layer, um, those are just some examples of companies that are taking back the
Mhm.
apparel, right? And so it's important to understand where things are made, where they're sourced from, how they're being manufactured, what they're being manufactured with, and then also what their new life might be somewhere, right? And that's a huge piece of this traceability and transparency discussion, which I think is where we're also seeing a lot of progress.
Absolutely. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Swag Cycle too, which in the promotional products industry has made a huge impact. It's part of Ben Grossman from Grossman Marketing Group started it. And I think it's the numbers from their latest impact report. I think since they started in 2019, they've been able to facilitate like $12.6 million in charitable donations and kept like more than 3.3 million items out of landfills just by, figuring out what to do with this branded merch that cannot be used as it is anymore and figuring out how to keep it out of landfills, whether that's through a charitable donation or some kind of next level recycling effort or upcycling.
Yeah, no, I love what they're doing. And so many people are doing this. I mean, drop a comment, guys. If this is
Yeah,
something you're
yeah.
doing in your business or you know of another company doing it, let us know. We want to celebrate these people because this is where we're seeing progress, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And it's all about the collaboration too, right? This is not something that we can do. No company can do this on their own. But I think that's another big trend with sustainability is kind of cross industry typically, rivals kind of working together to affect change. It's not something that can be accomplished, one person at a time. This is a group effort. This has to be a collaborative thing.
It is absolutely. Well, Theresa, are there any other really big nuggets of information? Obviously, we're going to go into some details later. We don't want to give away the whole pie yet, but anything else we need to talk about before we get into it?
I would say the one other thing I wanted to bring up is kind of the holistic idea of sustainability. I think in the past people were like, okay, well, it's made of recycled materials. That's all I need to know. But is the product designed well? Is it high quality? Is it something that's going to be used for a long time? And I think that companies are starting to look a little bit more holistically at it. So something that's sustainable is something that people use and like and keep for a long time, not just something that's made of recycled materials. And we actually at ASI, we recently released the ad impression study, and just a couple of nice little nuggets from that. I guess from the most recent study, promo products on average generate 3,300 impressions over their lifetime. So they're kept for a long time and they make a big impression. Promotional fleece and jackets garner like 9,000 impressions during their lifetime. So clearly that's an item people, want and wear and keep. And just two other quick little things. 74% of consumers have a more favorable view of an advertiser after receiving a sustainable promotional item. So that's very positive. And 78% of US consumers would keep a promo item because it's useful to have. So I just wanted to drop a little bit of a little stats in there. And some of them are not specifically about sustainability, but when you're thinking about sustainability as items that are kept and appreciated and used for the long term, those are important things to note for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, hey, isn't the dictionary definition of sustainable something that lasts for a long time? So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Theresa, for all those highlights. Obviously, again, drop in the comments if you want to learn more, connect with us. But I think we're ready to get this event rocking.
Absolutely.